I randomly would have 200 employees and I'd say, okay, 10%, 5% because I don't like his name, I don't like his hairstyle, I'd probably give appraisals like that. That's not how it is, right? No matter how beautifully have you designed or how many galis have you written in it, for us, it's one thing, resignation. This is insane. I'm so sorry. I would never rehire such a candidate for sure.
So today, we are in conversation with Jasmeen Kaur, Head of Talent Acquisitions here at upGrad. And she has been giving us insights on everything from resume building to interviews to even salary negotiation. If you want to check out all the previous episodes that we have done on the topics that I mentioned earlier, click right here. So far, we have been approaching the different aspects of appraisal, the different challenges that come with it. It could be a simple realization that maybe it's time for a change of pace, or it could be a bad appraisal that makes you want to call it quits. The simplest question that I can ask you is, how do you do it?
So honestly, it's extremely heartbreaking to see people quitting a job, irrespective of how much time have they spent in the organization. I mean, I receive any email from any of my team members who'd quit, my heart would definitely skip a beat. So there is a lot of struggle I feel that managers do put during your appraisal cycle. So there's this behind the scenes that nobody knows of, especially the employee, to what level the manager or the seniors do try and go out of the way to give the best possible appraisals, keeping in mind internal and external challenges. And that's how an appraisal is concluded. It's not just that, okay, I randomly would have 200 employees and I'd say, okay, 10%, 5% because I don't like his name, I don't like his hairstyle, I'd probably give appraisals like that. That's not how it is, right? Even if you've spent a couple of months working with somebody, your direct manager deserves to know what is going to be your call. And I keep telling everybody that direct emails have a very negative impact is what I feel. It's definitely much more than just moving on and quitting. So I feel that a person should sit and talk. It doesn't take a lot of time. All that it takes is that effort to probably make the first move. So maybe having a cup of coffee with your manager or having an informal conversation, speaking your heart out would give you a lot of those insights that your manager might be able to talk to you only when he knows you're planning to move on. So cut to chase, I would say that directly drafting a resignation email is, I don't really think that it is the most easiest thing to do. I have a lot of people when I tell them, okay, why didn't you come and talk to me? They said, okay, because we couldn't face you. I mean, and it is difficult for people to face their boss whom they are working with since months and years to tell them that, hey, listen, I want to part ways because I'm kind of moving out and I have commitment elsewhere. These conversations are very, very difficult, but I feel that this is still better to do rather than having a resignation email drafted and then sending it to your boss. So it's a two-way thing, and if the decision is of the employee to move on, I think it's the employee who should put the first step forward and take that effort to talk to their boss, irrespective of what relations do you have, be it professional, if you gel up really well, or you probably are buddies after work, or whatever it is, or you must talk.
So you mentioned graceful exit.
Yeah.
That's actually what I wanted to probe a little on, specific to resignations. Mm-hmm. Now, of course, you mentioned that it's always better to first talk with your superior before you put down your papers. But if we had to focus only on resignations, the final email document, whatever it is that you need to send, there is a certain etiquette to that as well.
Of course.
And a lot of people, perhaps, especially if this is the first ever resignation they're writing, they are nervous or intimidated to write that because, of course, a change like that is really
Google
big.
does help them a lot.
Yes.
And
Google
I have
does help them
people
a
in
lot.
my team who actually search mannered resignation emails, professional resignation emails. And then I have my friends who probably told me that before clicking on send, we kind of read that email 10 times and we asked people to read that email because we don't want to be judged. And I clearly said that had you spoken with the person whom you are drafting this email to, there's no possibility that the email would have been taken otherwise, because you've spoken what you've set the context clear, and then you need not copy paste it from any website so that it looks graceful or it looks professional. Your intentions are clear.
Exactly, and it's also very important to not burn bridges as you leave, right? So again, like specific to resignation, like you said, it's a lot of googling, it's a lot of nervous redrafts and rewriting. What would you say makes for a good resignation email?
There are a lot of people who try to conclude the last working day on the email itself by deciding on their own. Again, this is another thing that creates a lot of misunderstanding. So if my employee, my team member has a notice of 2 months, I have plans for next quarter, I have planned for that resource, I have reliability on that resource, my work would definitely get hampered, and it takes time to hire a replacement of a trained resource, of course. Right. Hire a replacement, then let them be trained and all of that. So a lot of people would conclude in their resignation saying that, okay, I resign from this post effective this date, and though I have a 2 months notice, because I have personal commitments, I might want this to be the last working date. So, and that's where I think the so-called war starts in the head, right? But one should avoid to take decisions individually when it's a two-way association. A person, the management is expected to be respected, and the discretion of the last working day should remain in both hands. I wouldn't want an employee to be forced to appreciate his bosses in the email that I've had an amazing tenure, so that is all is okay. So a resignation should be short and crisp, I believe, and it should not really have stories, and let's not beat around the bush. I mean, if one wants to vent their heart out, like I said, that there is a lot of things that, so not everybody resigns on a good note, right? Yes. A lot of people just resign because things are not happening. So the problem is that we are not talking. Right. So the efforts that you might take to draft an email, as much as you sit with somebody and talk to them, would give you better answers, is what I feel. So if somebody needs to vent out and they feel that talking is not my thing, they might draft big resignations. But as a boss, I'd say that the only thing I'd say is, okay, I resign effective this date. I mean, even if you've written stories, I would probably look at those stories later, but I'd not be able to act upon it immediately because you've decided for yourself. And so, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So just like we discussed, there's a certain etiquette to the way you conduct such a conversation. And, there's this idea that you make a first impression with your resume. You also make a last impression with your resignation.
Sure.
Right, and so that is why today we have some resignations for you, and we would love to get your educated take on these resignations. Here you go.
Today is my 31st birthday, and having recently become a father, I now realize how precious life is and how important it is to spend my time doing something that makes me and other people happy. I hereby give notice of my resignation in order that I may devote my time and energy to my family and to my cake business, which has grown steadily over the past few years. I think this is the best resignation. This is very cute, and there's nothing wrong that the employee wants to communicate through this. And again, if an employee wants to make a choice by clearly telling the employer that I feel that my family needs me more than I need this job, is to be appreciated. And this is a very cute resignation, yes. So I like it.
So here's one that I actually, I'm very curious to see what your reaction to this is going to be.
I hope this letter finds you as usual undervaluing what I have to say. My sanity is far more valuable than the sorry excuse that you offer me as my salary. So please consider this email my official exit from the paper-pushing jungle of bureaucracy you call a company. This is insane. I'm so sorry. I would never rehire such a candidate for sure. This is extremely rude, and I pity the manager who actually received this resignation. But I'm sure that one would not really want to resign on these, but I have seen people trying to vent out, like I said, in their resignation emails, as long as we are not disrespecting somebody and don't act thankless. So as much as the employee feels he had a tough time, I feel the feelings would be mutual if you ask the employer. There are times when employer equally feels that maybe performance issues or attitude issues or whatever, and things don't work out. But I don't really think that gives a right to either of the parties to disrespect, maybe make somebody feel miserable about their pattern of working. And so this is funny for the sake of reading, honestly, but if you ask me, I personally have seen so many that have let go of their employees for their better growth, their better future. So it's not wrong to quit, and I think quit is not the right word, but they move on and they want something else, something more to learn, and that's not a wrong decision as long as it's approached in a positive manner.
So true. So, okay, just to change the pace a little bit, here's one that's...
Okay, there's still more that we have. The designer, oh my god. Okay. Click HR to find out how bad. Oh my god. Okay. I mean, I think that our kids would be in the era while resignations are going to be like that. I'm sure. I don't know how badly this person, is he just trying to do all of this for humor and on a lighter note, acceptable, but if he actually was made to feel like that, and the company should revisit on how they treat their employees for sure. But again, like I said, for a manager, when you read a resignation, no matter how beautifully have you designed or how many galis have you written in it, for us, it's one thing, resignation.
I mean, you gotta give props for creativity. I mean,
really.
So here is one that I think is, I mean, actually, I don't want to color your opinion of it, but...
Honestly, of all the things I have learned in this organization and in life, I never learned how to resign. Okay, I had many firsts in this company, my first job interview, my first appraisal, and now my first resignation. I don't know why, but I can relate to this slightly, because as a first job, you always have memories. I feel it's time for me to move on from this organization. I hope I've been a good employee, and I'm sorry to leave. It's a very, very cute resignation from somebody who honestly does not know how to resign. But yeah, he's tried his best to be sweet, and yeah.
And we have one last resignation for you to react to, and this one, as a working professional who's, I mean, I'm a little skeptical to show this one to you, but I will.
Okay, this is a very interesting resignation. Past 5 years were nothing but awesome. I am forever grateful. Oh my god. Okay, so I think if this is what resignation would start to look like, people would accept it with open arms and say, okay, please resign. But yeah, I mean, like I said, that there will be someday, post decades, that people will start to be so creative in terms of how they want to part ways. But on a lighter note, I've had times when I've enjoyed my team members' farewell. I mean, in my heart and head, I was like, oh my God, can they please not go? Yeah, but at the same time, you can't be a bottleneck to somebody's growth. Yes. So yeah, it's always good to have a goodbye rather than just a bye, I feel.
All right, Jasmeen, thank you so much. This has been so insightful and so helpful.
Thank you for having me here.
What did you think? What would be your overall impression of the resignations we have covered today?
So of course they were funny, and I mean, but it's good to discuss things like these, because I feel apart from theory of what recruitment is, interviews are, resignation is, I think this is the real discussion that we've had around all of these.
Thank you so much, Jasmeen. This has been great.
Thank you. If you enjoyed this video, like, share and subscribe to upGrad.
And if you have any more questions or queries or suggestions on what we should cover next, leave them down below.